Welcome to Showing Up Anyway, the podcast for people who are not perfect. On this show, we talk about intuitive eating, fitness without obsession, and healing your relationship with food and your body. Hello, everybody. Welcome back to Showing Up Anyway. I hope you're all having a really good holiday season. I know it's been a few weeks since my last episode, so thank you for your patience. Man, I've really underestimated how difficult it can be to do a weekly podcast while also running a business and, it being the holiday season. But rather than just forcing out content to hit a weekly schedule and talking about some random filler topics, I want these episodes to really have a lot of thought and effort behind them as to be able to kind of give you something that will impact you. And sometimes that takes time to develop. So I will continue to put them out, but make sure you have your notifications on because sometimes they may land every other week and sometimes even once a month, but they will always be worth your time. This week's episode is called Burn the Ships. It's a phrase that I heard for the first time this week from a client during his check-in. We'll call this client John. John and I have been working together for, probably a weight, and he's made a ton of lifestyle changes and mindset changes as well. And he told me that he decided to finally go into his closet and go through his clothes to donate the ones that didn't fit him anymore. For a long time, he had been keeping them, thinking that it was practical and, hey, they were comfortable. But what he realized was he was actually keeping them as sort of a safety net, just in case he gained that weight back, holding on to them out of fear that his progress would reverse and that the changes he was making were not going to be sustainable and that he would need those clothes again. He realized that there was still a part of him that was planning for failure. And the conversation we had that day really struck a chord with me because it highlighted what I think is a really crucial mindset shift for any journey of change. You don't truly move forward. You can't if you're keeping one foot in the past. Clinging on to what you used to wear and who you used to be and what you used to look like keeps an exit strategy in place. It keeps an option for retreat and for self-sabotage. So John made a really bold choice. He got rid of those clothes completely. No more just-in-case pile, no more safety net. Psychologically, he was telling himself that there was no option to go back to his old habits or his old body. Now, as I said before, like 3 days ago, I had not heard the metaphor burn the ships. And so I did a little bit of research into its origin. And listen, I am not a history major. And to be honest, I don't even know if the stories that are surrounding this phrase are anything more than folk tales or legends. But suffice to say that there have been a few events throughout history where famous conquerors like Cortez and Alexander the Great are supposed to have landed on foreign shores and in order to signal to their troops that there was no turning back from battle, ordered them to burn the ships, eliminating their escape route and securing unwavering commitment to the cause. Now, of course, I do not support the history of colonization or war in general, but I do like the lesson here. The idea that eliminating your safety nets and committing 100% to your goal is a really powerful mindset shift. And when you decide that there is no plan B, you stop wasting energy worrying about what might go wrong, and you have to focus entirely on making things work because you have no other choice. Burning your ships can light a fire in your belly, and it forces you to channel all your effort into solving problems and succeeding rather than mentally preparing to fall back if it get really hard. And in fact, studies support this. There was a study, I think they did it at Wisconsin, where groups of people were given an unscrambling task. Now, I recognize that, a puzzle is different than going to war, but go with me here, okay? If those people performed well, they would get a free snack on campus and a chance to leave the study early. Some of those groups, in addition to that, were instructed to come up with other ways they could get free food on campus or save time later in the day in case they did not do well enough to earn a snack or the early dismissal of their study, essentially creating a backup plan. You with me? Turns out those people who made backup plans performed worse on the task on average, and a follow-up experiment showed that a key factor for this was that it reduced their desire and motivation to achieve plan A. Knowing that there was an out made them less hungry for success. Now, this doesn't mean that backup plans are always bad. In some situations, they are important. You shouldn't put yourself at risk of harm or danger, but the point is this. If you want maximum effort and resilience, you need to genuinely commit to plan A. When you burn your ships, you're telling yourself that failure is not an option, and that plan helps you build mental resilience. You start looking for solutions instead of exits, It's probably going to be a little bit scary and uncomfortable at first. I'll acknowledge that. It's going to take a certain amount of courage, and you have to be willing to embrace some uncertainty. But there's an old phrase that I like that says growth happens outside of your comfort zone. You can't walk forward confidently while you're looking backwards over your shoulder. Free yourself from the past so you can concentrate fully on the path ahead. Now, if you can't tell, we're talking about much more than just donating old clothes. Okay, burning the ships in your life means removing the things that create friction from your goals. Do you remember talking about friction in a previous episode? You need to identify those escape hatches that you have in your life that make it easy to slip into your old ways, and then you have to close them up. So ask yourself, what escape hatch might I be keeping in my life in case I stumble? Maybe you need to delete the food delivery apps on your phone, the DoorDashes, the Uber Eats, if late night ordering is a habit of yours. Maybe you need to set app limits on social media platforms that you scroll instead of moving your body. Unfollow diet culture social media accounts that spark comparison. Move that damn bathroom scale out of sight. Delete the phone number of an ex that you call when you feel lonely if you're trying to get over them. Recognize these things for what they are, symbols of partial commitment. Life is always going to have uncertainties, and mental resilience does not mean that you never are scared or that you never have doubts. It just means that no matter what you doubt or what you feel, you're not going to let it dictate your actions. This is where the burn the ship mindset shines the most, because you're telling yourself that not only do you believe in your goal, but also your ability to achieve that goal. So much so that you're willing to cut off the exit routes and give it everything that you've got. By donating his just-in-case clothes, John reinforced his commitment to the healthier lifestyle he was building. Instead of walking into his closet and being faced with what might happen or who he might be if he fails, now he will only see the person he is today and who he aims to be tomorrow. If there is something in your life that is tethering you to the old version of you, some plan B that's whispering, well, you might fail, so you better be ready, letting go of that is going to make all the difference. That kind of commitment can be scary. Yes, I understand that, but it's also profoundly empowering. It frees you to pour all of your energy into making your new life work instead of hedging your bets on the last one. So when that familiar doubt creeps in and says, well, what if this doesn't last? You can finally answer with confidence, I am not planning to fail. Thank you for tuning in to this episode of Showing Up Anyway. You can find it for free on Spotify or wherever you get your podcasts. And wherever you're listening, if you like the show, I'd love it if you gave me a 5-star review, because that does help other people find the show, and hopefully it'll help change their life just like you're looking to change yours. If you're listening on Spotify, though, you can follow me and tap the bell icon so you get notifications when new episodes come out. I'm Coach Adam. Remember, when things get challenging, keep showing up